All right, everyone, welcome back to HC Conversations. My name's Phil.
I'm Paul.
That's Paul. This is a ministry of Hope Community Church where we are trying to make disciples of Jesus. And on this podcast, we go a little more in depth on the Sunday message and talk about some other things as well. We're going to do that today. So without further ado, Paul, yesterday, man.
So we were talking about Jacob yesterday, Jabbok, the
Gesundheit.
Jabbok on the banks of the Jabbok River. So there's like this little play on words there. Yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. But we were talking about Jacob because God chooses to use Jacob to bless the world. So, we talked about Abraham last week. Mm-hmm. Abraham had a son, Isaac. Isaac had two sons, Jacob and Esau. Actually, it should be Esau and Jacob, but we always talk about Jacob and Esau because
he's the son of the promise.
He's the son of the promise.
Yeah.
He stole the blessing of his brother. He stole the favor of his brother because all he wanted was the blessing of God. And he would do anything within his power to get it and not trust that God could provide it. Yeah. And so the story traces out how sinful, messed up this guy was, how messed up his wives were. And so I talked about it yesterday, but like this is one of those stories in the Bible that really kind of surprises you because it's like, wow, like
they're really messed up.
It's so messed up, and to just breeze past it and say, oh, Jacob was a great guy, his wives are great. It's like, no, that's not how the Bible paints Jacob and his wives, but God redeems it.
And that's been a theme through Genesis. You think about like the patriarchs of God making that promise, and they are all flawed and really, really messed up. And you talked about that last week with Abraham and Sarah. It's like God makes this promise to them, and they're just unfaithful.
Yeah.
It's the same thing now with Jacob, but this is about God saying, I will be faithful to carry this on through this line of really, really jacked up people.
Yeah. And so Jacob ends up having 12 sons that become the 12 tribes of Israel. There's a little bit more going on there with some of his grandsons, actually, but that's a story for another day. So we see God redeeming him, and God ends up having to fight Jacob to transform him. He has to break him in order for him to be transformed, to bring about the blessing. What are you laughing about?
When you say he has to break him, just the way you said it, I'm just thinking Rocky IV with Ivan Drago. I will break him. So that's
maybe that's how it went.
That's God and Jacob are wrestling, and God's like, I will break him.
So he breaks him. He punches him incredibly hard in the crotch.
Yep.
Pops his hip out of the socket. He ends Jacob's ability to produce blessing on his own, because the blessing of God was, I will multiply your descendants, I will make your name great. That was the blessing made to Abraham. And so in order for God to bring about blessing, he had to stop Jacob's ability to produce blessing on his own.
Yeah.
Because all it was doing was bringing cursing. And so God, that moment marked an incredible turning point in Jacob's life, because it transformed him morally, that now he went forward with a moral, upright character, that he was transformed by God, and he could now receive God's blessing instead of trying to take it for himself.
Now, when you said it transformed him morally, I don't want people thinking that meant Jacob was perfect now.
Yeah.
Because you read on, he's still got some issues.
Yeah, he's still got some issues. He's kind of cantankerous as he gets older. He's not
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Cantankerous as we get older. Sorry if that offends you. I'm getting older now, I can say it. Yeah. No, but that's really good. Some of that, I think you'll see even next week. He plays favorites with his kids, and it's like that leads to some problems. But I think when you say he has more of a moral transformation, there's a humility to him now, right? Because you either humble yourself or you get humbled.
Yeah.
He got humbled.
He got humbled by God. Because he lived a life of just selfish ambition, that I can do it by myself. I don't need anybody else. I'm my self-made man. Like I can bring about blessing on my own. And God says, no, I'm not going to accept that. I need you to humble yourself and submit to me. Because self-sufficiency, the sin of self-sufficiency, which is rampant in our culture, that I don't need anyone else. I can do it on my own. I don't need anyone else because I can produce my own blessing.
Yeah.
It's actually the sin that says, you know what, I am God. We might not come out and say that, but we live like that.
We put ourselves in that role.
Oh yeah.
All the things that God should be doing, or like that he does do, is like, no, I got this. I don't need you. Yeah.
Yeah. So God transforms him, and one of the things that happens is when he's transformed, we discover that sometimes it takes being wounded to being about transformation. Sometimes we don't. Because in this situation, God was using that woundedness to get Jacob to trust God, to point Jacob to him. And we live in a culture today that says, make your woundedness your identity. Just live in your past, live in your trauma. We have therapists that just ingrain that in us. And I'm not saying that therapy is bad. It has its place, especially therapy that's based in God's word and the truth of God's word and what God says is true about us. But so much therapy is bad therapy, and it leaves us living in our trauma, living in our woundedness, and making that thing our identity instead of using that to point to God and our need to trust in God and God to transform our hearts.
Yeah, I think that's the distinction there between like living in, like allowing, not ignoring the wound or ignoring the trauma or ignoring what happened, but also not living in it, right? So like that story with Jacob, it's like he walked with a limp for the rest of his life.
Yeah, for the rest of his life.
So he was always wounded, but he also, like after he received the wound, he didn't just lay in the bank of the river forever. Like, oh, I'm here, I can't. Help! I followed. Jacob's got to get his life alert out, like he moved on from that. And I love the point that you made yesterday about healing, of like healing is not simply, it's not like it never happened. It's not receiving healing from God is not. It's not rewinding the clock to where it's like you go back to things before the wound happened. Like it's not ignoring it. It's saying, no, I move on with this. I encountered God through the pain. He walked with me through the pain. And we were talking about this earlier. It's like, yeah, you're going to have a scar. I mean, you just look at your physical body and that, but just because you have a scar, I got several on my body from different injuries and bumps and bruises throughout the year. It's like, just because you have a scar, that doesn't mean you're not healed. Like, no, in fact, the scar is a sign that I have been healed.
Yeah.
And like, man, that is true with those deeper wounds too, where it's like, hey, God heals, but that doesn't mean it's just erased.
Right.
And this is, I think, gets into some of the bad therapy, which, by the way, is the title of the book.
It's actually a really
very
good eye-opening book.
That oftentimes, and this is, I give people this advice all the time, when someone's really struggling and I'm like, hey, well, like maybe you should seek out some counseling. If you're a person of faith, go to a Christian counselor, so that it is rooted in the power of God to transform and you're moving in a direction and it's anchored in the truth of Scripture. Is that oftentimes, and I'm not saying this, again, you've already said too, it's not the case across the board, but sometimes therapy sessions just become ripping the scab off over and over and over again. It's like, well, there's not going to be healing. You can't just live in that. And ruminate, right? Let's just talk about it. It's like, listen, at a certain point, you got to stop talking and just go.
Just go. Start living. Start moving forward. Just like Jacob, he left the old man behind. He entered into God's promised land.
Yeah.
Still wounded, but a different man, marked and changed.
And still going into, I think we didn't get to that part of the story too, but still going into the unknown.
Yeah.
You set up the before, it's like he was going to meet his brother, who the last time he saw him wanted to kill him. Now, not only is he going to meet the brother and still doesn't have a clue, but he's wounded.
Yeah.
Right? So he's limp. Now if he is going to face a battle against his brother, he's doing it with a limp.
And the crazy thing is, so before Genesis 32, Jacob prays, God, deliver me, protect me from Esau. And then this happens. Yeah. And this is how God was bringing about the protection that Jacob needed. It was by wounding him.
Hey, listen.
And delivering him through that wound. Because now, if he could face God and wrestle with God and be wounded and come out the other side, he can now face anything, including his brother that may have been on his way to kill him.
Listen, going. Life is a battle. Life is war. It's a spiritual war. Going into a battle wounded by God is 1,000,000 times better than going into a battle at full strength of your own.
Ooh, yeah.
That's just what it is. I'd rather go in 50% because God has knocked me down a few levels than being, I got this and and I can do it, right? It's like, no, you can't. So.
Yeah, and a lot of times we avoid that because we live in a society dedicated to comfort, to pleasure, to just wanting to be made comfortable at all costs. We have medications to make us feel better. We self-medicate. And that doesn't lead to anything good.
Vacation like crazy too.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe this is just my upbringing. Like, we never went on any kind of vacation. Never went on a holiday. And now my people are like, I went on vacation. Did you just go on vacation like 2 months ago? Yeah, I'm going on another one. I need some me time. Like, you need to suck it up, buttercup, is what you need to do. I know that sounds really, really harsh, but
yeah,
like you were saying, we do live in a culture that is just comfort and happiness, and all the warm fuzzies are like the highest ideal. In the moment that I don't feel that, something's wrong, what do I have to do? I'm uncomfortable right now. I'm not supposed to be uncomfortable, am I? I'm like, no,
life.
pretty much that's all of human existence up until 10 minutes ago. And it's led to, and again, there's this idea of how a wound can be a blessing, and it teaches us to rely on God. It teaches us to push through adversity and these different things. It's led to a crippling weakness in humanity, specifically humanity in the West in the 21st century, of we don't know how to do hard, or at least do it well. I was sharing with you earlier that most of the people who are probably watching this know that I love history. I specifically, and it's a running joke, like once you hit a certain age, you're either going to get really into World War II history or smoking meat or something like that. I'm like, I'm doing both. Right? So I'm an overachiever. I love that period, World War II. And I just recently watched, I hadn't had a chance to yet, Masters of the Air. So there's kind of like a trilogy, if you will, of these World War II miniseries. It started with Band of Brothers. If you're not seeing Band of Brothers, what are you doing? You should watch it, okay? And then The Pacific, which was at the Pacific Theater of World War II. And now this one was Masters of the Air. I watched it all over the weekend because I don't want to actually pay for Apple TV, so I did the 7-day free trial on my Amazon account. I'm like, binge watch, cancel, okay? That's called being frugal. That's what that is. And I watched all of them, and just Masters of the Air is about, it kind of follows the 100th Bomber Group they're flying these flying fortresses and doing aerial bombing of German targets before even the land invasion of World War II. So it's like the year leading up to it. And it is just horror. What these men went through, you're like in these giant steel flying death tubes. The Luftwaffe at the time had complete air superiority, and so you're taking flak, you're being shot up by these other guns. It's like 50 below zero when you're at altitude, so you're freezing in there. There's bullets ripping through, these planes, these huge planes, but they're super thin because they got to be able to fly, right? And just the casualties that were suffered. They'd send like 30 flying fortresses up, and each were crewed by 10 people to make the whole operation go. And they'd come back with 12 or 15. Like in a single flight, you'd lose 100, 150 men, guys that you've known, you were there, and now they're just gone. And unlike something like the ground war, you don't see it. You don't get to care for them. You don't get to tell them goodbye. You look out the window and the plane's going down, or if it's happening to you, and the horror that's happening in there. And they would do it day after day after day. And so whether it's that series or other ones, you look at what that generation went through. And did they have wounds from that? Oh yeah, like physical and mental and emotional. But guess what they did? They came home, they got married, they had kids, and then they built, basically the greatest nation system ever known to humankind. Now, I'm not saying America's perfect. Don't come at me with that. But I'm just saying in terms of what has come out since then. I'm like, they experienced, never mind, this is the generation that started with the Great Depression. Yeah. Hello. And then they're like, let's go to war and just get completely annihilated and have these nightmares for the rest of our lives. But then they were still functional members of society. And they loved families, and they started churches and stuff. Honestly, that was like the boom of Christianity in America. It was actually like in the post-war era. And all of these things. And it was a wound that was always there, but it was never a reason for them to not. And we were missing a lot of that.
Yeah.
And so you get a historical perspective on things, and you realize, in the grand scheme of things, life is easier and better now than at any point in human history, but yet we can't handle it now.
No.
And I don't say that. If you're someone that struggles with daily realities, I don't say that as a way of trying to tear you down. Like it's the world that we live in that has said that comfort is the highest value. And honestly, we've been blessed enough to avoid hardship, and now we're weak.
Yeah,
we are.
Humanity wasn't made to thrive in comfort. We were made to be challenged to walk through pain and come out the other side with God walking through us or with us. And we were made to do hard things.
Yeah.
And as guys, talk to guys that are watching. We were made to do the hard thing, not to live in comfort, to sit back, but to challenge ourselves, to keep pushing forward. That nothing good happens when a guy is comfortable.
No. Because I think there's something, there's something in men that doesn't get shut off. That sense of adventure. I need to go do hard things. I've got this pent up aggression or whatever. And if I don't actually go do the hard things, that all gets directed towards really destructive things.
Yep.
It gets, gets directed towards dopamine hits and amusing ourselves to death, and all kinds of vice. There's that word vice, right? And there's a whole bunch of things in that category. So go do hard stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier said than done, but
go work out with at F3.
Yeah, what the heck?
When it's
F3.
like minus 20 out or something.
Listen, I'll be honest. 2 weeks ago, when it was like 20 below zero with the wind chill in the morning, I didn't go because I'm like, we got a safety issue here. I don't want frostbite, and so I didn't go. But a couple of them did. But one of the reasons why we get up and we go work out Tuesdays and Thursdays, Bicentennial Park. By the way, if you're a guy, because it's guys only. Sorry. 5:15 a.m. We go and we do a really hard workout. We drink a cup of coffee afterwards, have a quick devotional thought, and then we're out of there because it starts the day saying, I can do things that suck. Especially because there's other guys here that are going to make me do these things that suck. And if I don't, I'm going to hear about it. But and that that has benefit in all kinds of areas of life, especially as we think about our faith. Because, and here we talk about the comfort creeping in. Your Christianity is not supposed to be easy.
No.
And then you're like, oh, this is hard. I thought once I'm following God, no, you gotta wrestle with him, right? Back to Jacob. There's going to be times when our faith, it feels like a fight.
Yeah.
Because God wants us to get to the other side of that with complete and total dependence on Him. And it's better to be wounded by Him and walk with a limp for the rest of your life than walk in your own strength for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I feel like I took that over and it was your sermon.
No, that was great.
Got anything else in your sermon that we.
No.
Yeah, it was a pretty
short. We covered.
I remember you saying
everything
it was a pretty
extra
short,
that I wanted to.
It was a pretty short passage.
It was pretty short because there's not a whole lot in commentaries on that passage. It's kind of like it's straightforward. Jacob wrestled with God. He renamed him Israel. God fights. It was a sign of God's favor upon him and his family. Yeah. So
very good.
All right.